For a century, leaders of global police have been coming together to enhance cooperation for a safer world. It is Interpol's full-time chief, the Secretary General, who oversees the organization's day-to-day work. Equal parts diplomat and advocate, civil servant and CEO, the Secretary General is a symbol of Interpol's ideals and a spokesman for the interests of international law enforcers. Each of Interpol's Secretaries General has also defined their role within the context of their particular time in office. At the turn of the 20th century, Interpol's ability to provide operational police support was inadequate. The organization had become so slow, so unresponsive that in many police circles around the world, Interpol was considered irrelevant to their daily needs.
L'organisation Interpol, c'était une organisation célèbre, intéressante, mais c'était une organisation qui travaillait comme une administration. On commençait le matin à 9h, le soir à 5h, on finissait.
When its seventh Secretary General, Ronald was first elected, he set out to reinvigorate the organization, to install state-of-the-art technology, and to develop tools and services tailored uniquely to police needs.
C'était pas satisfaisant pour une organisation qui doit être réactive, notamment en matière de police. On sait qu'on doit pouvoir réagir 24 heures sur 24, donc il était absolument nécessaire de changer ça et de s'assurer que l'organisation soit à même de réagir à tout moment, 24 heures sur 24.
His plans that seemed to predict a seismic shift about to take place the world over.
Did your phone ring off the hook after September 11th?
The only call I got was from my brother to tell me to turn the television on just in time for me to see the second plane fly into the building. And I promised myself, and I promised my staff that that would never happen again. It would never be that a terrorist attack would occur anywhere in the world and we wouldn't be called.
Interpol n'avait pas véritablement une stature internationale, une reconnaissance internationale pour apporter véritablement une aide lorsque quelque chose de grave se passait.
Nadie que estuviera mirando la prensa, nadie que supiera lo que pasaba, nadie que pudiera coordinar rápidamente con los países.
Et ce jour-là, le 11 septembre, le secrétaire général m'a demandé de monter dans son bureau. Et il m'a dit, Jean-Michel, est-ce que vous êtes prêt pour travailler 24 heures sur 24 à partir d'aujourd'hui? Et je lui ai dit oui. Donc Interpol travaille 24 heures sur 24 depuis le 11 septembre 2001.
It was an existential moment for Interpol. If that decision was not taken, something else would have been created. And Interpol would have been relegated to oblivion.
Desde ese momento decidió que eso no era posible y como él dice siempre que las luces de Interpol no deberían apagarse para los países miembros porque el sol y la acción sigue estando en todo el mundo. Y entonces creó el CCC.
Donc on avait demandé des volontaires auprès du personnel pour savoir qui voulait travailler la nuit.
Gente que trabaja las 24 horas al día y que pueden ayudar siempre. El teléfono, llamen cuando llamen, siempre hay alguien que responde, siempre hay alguien en cualquier lengua. Podemos contactar con cualquier persona de cualquier servicio y dar la asistencia que el país requiera.
The Command and Coordination Center would breathe new life into the organization, marking a key turning point in Interpol's history. The number of officers would more than double in a decade, with a second Command and Coordination Center at the Regional Bureau in Buenos Aires added in 2011, and a third to follow in Singapore. But it would be just the beginning of a long road to making Interpol truly relevant.
Le Command Center, c'était important de travailler 24 heures sur 24, et surtout, dans la police, qu'est-ce qui est important? Ce sont les informations, ce sont les données que l'on peut partager.
Contributions to Interpol's databases had been stagnant in the years before Noble took office. Tracking stolen and lost travel documents was seen as a low priority for countries. But for criminals, it was licensed to travel the world under any identity. This was the case when 100 Croatian passports were stolen from a consulate in Mostar in 1999, long before the idea of a global database for travel documents even existed. One of them ended up in the hands of Milorad Ulemek, convicted in the assassination of Serbian Prime Minister Zoran Đinđić. Ulemek had traveled undetected for more than 4 years through at least 7 countries prior to the murder. For years, Noble recognized this critical gap in border security. And after September 11th, he could wait no longer. spearheading the creation of the only global database of stolen and lost travel documents.
Tout passager qui débarque d'un avion verra maintenant son passeport vérifié non seulement dans la base nationale, mais également dans la base régionale, type Schengen pour l'Europe, et également dans la base Interpol.
Because of a determined and committed team, and the vision of a strong leader, the SLTD database grew from a few thousand records from just 10 countries to information on more than 40 million travel documents provided by 167 countries. In turn, searches also grew from a few 100,000 to more than 1 billion over the course of Nobel's mandates. Interpol was poised to help member countries secure their borders and protect their citizens. But there would be another problem Interpol would need to solve before it was truly up and running. To Nobel, it was clear that if you couldn't communicate, then you could not fully cooperate internationally. Interpol's communication system had evolved since the first radio network was launched in 1935, but the existing one was still antiquated and limited in its options. Processing notices could take up to 6 months. His next priority called for the right technical infrastructure. The initial improvement, the proposed Atlas project, was meant to address these weaknesses. But it wasn't internet-based, and Nobel could see then that it wasn't right for the future of the organization.
If Interpol doesn't adopt a state-of-the-art, web-based system to communicate with local police, Interpol will die out.
It called for a radical change, one that would require a difficult decision by a bold leader, a decision he would ultimately make alone.
Nous étions une quinzaine autour de la table et il a dit « Qui pense que je vais choisir Atlas ?» Et tout le monde a dit « Vous allez choisir Atlas ?» Il a dit « Eh bien non, je ne vais pas choisir Atlas. On va utiliser la technologie d'Internet parce que si on utilise une compagnie privée pour un système, pour une organisation comme Interpol, on va ruiner l'organisation. »
I took what I still consider the most important decision I've ever taken as Secretary General, to cancel that contract.
In 4 years, starting with Canada in 2003, until Somalia was connected in 2007, a brand new technological infrastructure was built that would permit police around the world to communicate with one another, quickly and effectively. Now, instead of 6 months, the new I-247 system enabled a notice to be received, processed, and issued to the rest of the world within a day. More than anything, the driving force of the organization was to be there for member countries in their time of need, wherever that call would come from.
When we first arrived, it was quite strange because it was beautiful.
More than 11,000 people are now thought to have been killed in southern Asia after an undersea earthquake sent enormous waves rolling across the Indian Ocean.
It's only when you actually went to the coast and you see the devastation where you'd see buildings that the first floor, the second floor was just completely gone.
Responding to natural disasters was not something Interpol was ever expected to do. But the Secretary General would change that on New Year's Eve 2004 when he flew to Southeast Asia, and 2 days later, a full incident response team followed.
He basically went over the whole tsunami area and then realized that Interpol needed to be involved and to coordinate this event.
Police and staff from 30 countries responded to Interpol's call for assistance to coordinate the massive global effort to identify the thousands of victims of the devastating tsunami. Specialized units remained in Southeast Asia for more than 2 years, culminating in the biggest single operational response in the organization's history.
Cada día se identificaban unas 20 personas y estaban muy contentos, mucho. Era muy conmovedor, pero al mismo tiempo muy contento, porque teníamos familias que venían allí al centro donde estábamos todos reunidos, intentando saber qué había pasado con sus familiares. Y eso fue un gran trabajo del que me siento muy orgullosa.
When Interpol hit the ground, you see physically what Interpol means. Enabling cooperation in a very physical way, that is a very clear way, example of how Interpol put its mandate into practice with boots on the ground. And to me, that was a turning point because the world was able to see what Interpol meant. And I think that everything that came after that has at least to credit that event.
It would be one of many times Interpol would be called. His creation of response teams, rooted from his passion to help those who needed it most, and his ability to act on a moment's notice, transformed Interpol into a proactive organization the world could rely on.
En 2005, on a commencé à récolter les fruits de ce qu'on mettait en place, puisqu'on avait installé des piliers de police, donc on était beaucoup plus crédible vis-à-vis des pays membres. Donc cette crédibilité, ça nous a permis de bâtir d'autres partenariats avec des pays, mais aussi avec des organisations.
Organizations like the United Nations and the European Union, where Noble opened special representative offices in New York and Brussels to support new types of cooperation. The Interpol UN Security Council Special Notice combined the UN sanctions regime with Interpol's notice system into an effective law enforcement tool.
Et notre organisation, par cette coopération spécifique, a permis au Conseil de sécurité de pouvoir utiliser un mécanisme, un outil que l'organisation Interpol a développé et qui permet aujourd'hui que les sanctions décidées par cet organe politique qu'est le Conseil de sécurité trouvent une traduction pratique au niveau des frontières, au niveau des contrôles, et visent à faire en sorte que ces sanctions soient appliquées plus efficacement sur le terrain.
The growth of Interpol's relevance was again supported in 2014 when the UN Security Council unanimously voted to approve a resolution calling for nations to adopt new laws to prosecute those affiliated with terror groups, to prevent their entry and target funding links. The resolution specifically called on nations to share intelligence through Interpol. During his final mandate, Noble could have sat back and enjoyed the fruits of everything he had achieved. There was already plenty to be proud of, but he continued to reach for more.
In his third term, he simply continued to innovate. The biggest innovation which he came up with is implementation, I would say creation of the IGCI.
A cutting-edge research and development facility to identify emerging crimes, innovative training, and continued operational support. It would not just become a new building, it would set the foundation for its future.
IGCI is designed to be a driving force of innovating the tradition of Interpol in the digital age, where crime landscape is so different from in the past.
It would reflect a rapidly changing world, a world where demand for Interpol's tools and services could only explode, as they were already beginning to. And as demand would soar, each new innovation would need to be secured on a solid foundation for the long term. Noble was adamant that resilience during financial downturns should be a permanent feature of the organization, and he saw enormous potential to garner additional resources outside of mandatory contributions, across the public, private, and non-governmental sectors. Resources to enable groundbreaking initiatives. These were the challenges he refused to walk away from, and it wouldn't be just to please those at the top, but to give a voice to police everywhere.
One of the things that he did was he established the heads of the NCBs, because you would have the General Assemblies, then the big chief comes, with the head of the NCB who normally does the work. He might not even come, or he's sitting in the back row and he's not given the attention that he needs. So he invested into paying attention to the NCBs.
At the heart of this vision stood and still stands you, all of you, our NCBs. During the General Assembly of 2002, I said, the new Interpol is not simply a collection of databases and communication networks. The new Interpol is human.
It was a natural step for Noble, born out of his broader belief in the Interpol family.
He said, Roraima, I'm not going to leave if I haven't visited all my countries. And this is not a matter of principle, it's a matter of belonging. Interpol is a family, and I don't leave anyone behind.
Quand moi je suis arrivé ici en 1999, il y avait peut-être entre 25 et 30 différentes nationalités au sein du secrétaire général. Et aujourd'hui, il y a plus de 100 nationalités différentes, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a de très nombreux pays qui n'étaient pas représentés au sein du secrétaire général qui le sont aujourd'hui. C'est une force incroyable.
Because of that, it brings Interpol closer to the countries because they are represented. There is somebody that they know who works there, and that the police of a country can say, okay, I can call my officer there and ask him something, and I know that's really somebody there who can speak my language.
يسعدني أن أنتهز هذه الفرصة لأشكر المنظمة الدولية للشرطة الجنائية الانتربول على ما بذلته وتبذله من جهود منقطعة النظير في مجال مكافحة الجريمة بشتى صورها، وعلى ما حققته من مستويات عالية من التنسيق والتعاون بين كافة أجهزة الأمن وإنفاذ القانون بدول العالم.
So there is this communal belonging of the Interpol family. We strive to support one another.
At the heart of every successful human endeavor lies a unity of purpose and action, people working hand in hand toward the common good. This is especially critical in the area of law enforcement. We trust this will be the dawn of a new era of police brotherhood, one that is even stronger and more committed than ever before. There is no finer gift we can give of ourselves, no greater calling we can answer than to make the world a safer place for our children and for future generations.